Hey everybody, it's Dr. Cara, and I am here with another video in my animal communication training series. And in this video, I want to share my top 5 things that I wish somebody had told me earlier. So these are the things that I wish I knew when I was starting out. And just to give you a little bit of background, I'm kind of not exactly self-taught as an animal communicator, but when I started out, there really just weren't classes and trainings and online. There was not even really much online back then. And what I did was I got training as a psychic, and then I applied what I learned to animal communication, because animal communication was my dream and my goal and my life's wish, basically, to be able to communicate with animals. And so I did it kind of on my own, trial and error, doing things. I didn't really have a mentor, a guide, a teacher who had been down this path before and could tell me, hey, watch out for this, make sure you do that, don't worry about that thing, all of that stuff. It was all uncharted territory for me, and I explored it myself. So now that I have been a professional for 11 years, and this animal communication journey is now, into its second decade because of the time that I spent training before I even went pro, now I can see things from a new perspective and offer some guidance, some suggestions, some tips for you if you're starting out, about things to worry about, things to not worry about, things to just let go, and some things that'll help make it easier. So these are my top 5 tips for things I wish I knew when I was starting out as an animal communicator. And the first thing is, manage your expectations. So it is, I think, not a reasonable expectation to hear words from animals the way we hear words from people. And I think so many people get caught in their expectations of what it's supposed to be, right? It's animal communication. So I'm going to be talking with animals. They're going to hear my voice. I'm going to hear their voice. But not everybody is really auditory as their main sense. And it animal communication is an intuitive exchange that can happen in a lot of different ways. So it can happen with direct messages, but it can also happen in signs that you get later. It might happen in real time, but you might ask a question and you might get the answer when you're going to sleep the next night, because your filters are open or whatever. So you may not get it all in real time. And I think that the expectation that we're going to all be like Dr. Dolittle and talk in real time and hear words and say words is really not reasonable. So understand that intuitive communication can be in real time. It can also not be in real time. It can be asynchronous. It can be literal, and it can be symbolic, and it can come through any of your senses. So if you might hear something or see something or have a memory triggered that's meaningful for the situation or the question, you might feel things in your body that gives you information. You might have claircognizance and directly know stuff. You won't have words, you won't have images, you won't have sounds, feelings, whatever. There are really so many ways for animal communication to work. And I think one of the biggest ones that people don't realize is there can be a lag. You can ask a question today and get the answer tomorrow. And when you get it, you know that that's your answer, but it didn't happen until 24 hours later. And it's still valid. It's still good, right? It's still all okay. It's just the nature of the beast of animal communication. So tip number 1 is manage your expectations, understand how intuitive communication works, and know that as a beginner, it's not going to all just click and poof. The magic wand is going to make you talk to animals everywhere all the time at the drop of a hat. It just doesn't seem to work that way for me, for my students, for the other animal communicators I know. So manage your expectations. Number 2, record everything. So record the smallest little inkling of anything. There's something really magical about recording everything. Number one, it anchors the information for you. But number two, it also focuses your awareness. So as you're writing, you might also become aware of more information. Oh, I also felt this thing. I saw this picture. So that process is going to help you increase your awareness of what's going on in a holistic kind of way with animal communication for you. And it's going to heighten your senses and heighten your awareness and make you more tuned into animal communication. So record everything, I think, would be like the number one tip that I would give aspiring animal communicators. Number three, sorry, I'm going out of order of my notes here. So I got to update my little notes over here. Sorry. So number three, now I'm going to pick which one of these is really number three. Number three is really let go of the need to get it right. There's some funky thing that happens in our brain that if we get it right, that means it's real and that justifies that we're on the right path. But the kind of interesting thing about the actual process of learning how to do this is the more you practice it, the better you get at it, whether you're right or wrong. And right or wrong is a left brain thing. Animal communication is a right brain thing. So the more we're in the left brain trying to get it right and prove it, the less likely we are to actually get the accurate information that would do that. So especially in the beginning, it's more about, I'm going to spend X amount of time doing this. I'm going to do this for 10 minutes a day. I'm going to do 5 animal communication sessions a week. Just get them under your belt. Just get those numbers going. Don't even ask if you got anything right. Just learn how to do the process in your body. Record it in your notebook. And start paying attention to everything, but don't do that thing where it's such a slippery slope. It's a downward spiral to, in the beginning, have to get it right and have to get everything validated. So only talk to animals who people can verify the information. Don't do that. That might be my number one tip. These are all good, but this is just an instant roadblock. It's going to cause you nothing but heartache in the beginning for the first 6 months. For the first year, I don't know, don't even ask if I got it right? Like, don't even engage that part of your brain. Just set this aside. This is practice time. I'm just going to do this for X number of minutes or X number of times this week. I'm going to just write everything down. I'm going to suspend judgment. I'm going to suspend analysis. I'm just going to do it. And just in that process, you will get better at it. So that is my third tip, is just really practice, practice, practice without getting caught up in, am I right? Am I wrong? Why did I think it was a blue collar when it was a red collar? Nothing good can happen from that little conflict in your brain. And you can just bypass that by just going, these are practice, doesn't matter. I'm just doing this to practice the tools, the skills, the habits, the routine. I'm establishing how to do this, not how well I do this. So in the beginning, don't worry about getting it right. Number 4 is ask the next question. So this is something that I think people can get kind of hung up on. What do I say? How do I say it? What do I ask? And just ask anything. So for instance, my dog Aiko, I asked her favorite food, and I saw an image of a cutting board with steak and lots of, steak juice on it. And that was what I got as her favorite food. The next question I could have asked her was, do you like the steak or do you like the juice, right? Because there's 2 things there. Do you want your own steak? Do you like it rare? Do you like it well done? Do you want spices on it? All of those follow-up questions, that's where the real richness is. And that's where it's going to keep you in the animal communication and out of your head. And we really want to keep you out of your head. So you're just going to be curious. Well, tell me more about that steak. What's your second favorite food? Do you like broccoli? My cat, dogs and my cat all love broccoli, craziness. But if we try to understand and explain the answer, we go into our thinking brain and we're not in our intuitive brain. So by asking the next question, you stay in that curious neutral space and you get more information. So it's a win-win. So that's number 4. Number 5, I did do this one, and I am so grateful that I did. Nobody told me to do this, but I just did this, and it was to get a buddy. So getting a buddy is really critical for having somebody that you can talk to. Your buddy may be, in person, but it may be online, but somebody that knows you, knows what you're doing, will just be supportive, will maybe go do some practice sessions with you. My friend Ellery and I used to meet once a week, and we would just do these little field trips, and everyone was different. Sometimes we'd go walk in the neighborhood. Sometimes we would just go in her backyard and talk to the insects. Doesn't matter, but you're vulnerable when you're learning something new. It's uncomfortable as an adult to learn something new anyways. So to have a buddy who supports you, who's like, yeah, you did it, you're on the right track, let's do this together, let's have fun with this, let's not make it this big pressure-filled thing, is super, super helpful. So we had a ton of fun. I can't even think of where I would be now if I hadn't had her playing with me. And that's what it was playing. We would get together and play. And it was awesome to have somebody who understood how important this was to me, how vulnerable I felt, how critical I felt to myself. Like I felt like I was doing things wrong, that I wasn't getting it right, all that stuff. But having her there as a support system was invaluable. And it really helped me clear a lot of my blocks, because we would talk to the same animal and we would get about 80 to 90% of overlap in our answers. And that was really reassuring to me at that time. And now I realize that that's going to be true for any intuitive situation, right? You're never going to get, kind of got this bad itch. You're never going to get 100% overlap with everybody, but 80 to 90% is pretty damn good. And you can feel pretty confident that it was for real, right? And that's what we're trying to do when we're just starting out. So get a buddy. And the final one, so that's my top 5 things I wish somebody had told me when I was starting as an animal communicator. And the bonus one is kind of tacking onto that sense of vulnerability when we're starting out. And some people just don't get this. And that is, give yourself permission to not tell people. Be very selective who you share your animal communication journey with. It's okay to not tell everybody right up front. There are, some people who I told too early, and I got really discouraged because they were, really aggressively like, you're making it up, you're crazy, you can't do that, that's not real, you're a charlatan, psychics are all quacks and charlatans and cheaters, like all this weird stuff came at me. And it was hard to field all of that. It was really not fun at all to have people that I know and like and respect, who I thought, knew, liked, and respected me, come back at me with all their own crap, and they projected it on me. And so what I learned from that was to just be very selective. Not that I was hiding, not that I was embarrassed, but just that I got to choose who got to know about this part of my life at this time. Now I tell everybody, I don't really care what anybody thinks about it, because I'm so confident in myself about this whole world, this process, that it is real, that it does work. But in the beginning, I was just as vulnerable as anybody else, just as uncertain, just as driven with this really strong desire that was just so heartfelt, and that just makes you even more vulnerable because it's something you care about so much and you can feel so deeply in your body. So my bonus piece of advice for all of you aspiring animal communicators is, don't tell everybody, be selective. You're in charge. You get to choose who knows about this and who doesn't. And you get to choose how and when you want to share this information. So those are the things that I've learned over the years that I wish I knew when I started out, because I think it would have made my journey a little easier. Um, I'm the trial and error kid, and I gotta go do it myself anyway. So who knows if I would have listened, but I hope you listen to me and take these really to heart on your journey as you become a more and more accomplished animal communicator. Give yourself the benefit of my hard-won wisdom so your path is easier. Let me know in the comments which one really resonates with you the most, which one you're going to try, which one you've already incorporated into your journey. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these tips resonate with you the most? Put a note in the comments and we'll have a chat down there. And until then, remember, every animal lover is an animal communicator, and that includes you. I'll see you next time.